One. Hello, and we are live. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to our show. I'm your host, Derek, otherwise known as Dragon DJ. I'm joined by my friend
Remy.
And today we are going to be talking about the last 6 episodes of the 2005 Guyver anime series.
It's over. It's done. It's completed. What a freaking cliffhanger that was, folks. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, this definitely deserved a second season. Unfortunately, it didn't get it. So when we get to episode 26, we will be ending on such a huge tease. Such a huge tease.
No kidding. It's like, that I feel empty right now after watching this.
Yeah.
It all led up to nothing.
Well, it got further than the original anime series, so
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean that's something. Because I think the original OVA just kind of ended with them fighting it out in Relic Point.
Oh wow! All right.
Might have even been like before that. Um, it might have ended when Shell rescued Mitsugi from Aptom.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of episodes, so
Huh.
yeah. But it's been a very long time since I've seen that one. Had that series on VHS. So, um, but we will get into it. I've got some more screenshots to show, so let me bring those up. And I tried using an art program this time to try and like help a little bit, but I don't know how much it's going to help with how much it actually help. So,
Well, I think that there are a lot more, I would say, nighttime settings in these episodes than there were daytime settings.
yeah, there was just a couple of shots that I tried getting that um, are going to be a little washed out. So,
Yeah, it might be fun though.
yeah, we'll still see, the bulk of what we're trying to see in there. So that's all
Yeah.
that matters.
Yeah.
All right, so episode 21 is for those who don't remember, at the end of episode 20, we ended with Gyut being confronted by Arkenfell and Sho gaining control of the relic ship. So that was where episode 20 ended. So we start off with episode 21 showing Gyut running through the base, trying to get away from Arkenfell. He doesn't care who gets in his way. He's just blowing everybody away. Um, I feel so bad for some of these soldiers.
No, I love that one moment where one of the soldiers still in the chair in this scene right here.
Yeah,
And he's like, "Oh hey, oh hey, Master Gio, how's it going?" Ah!
yeah. So he blows a hole through this wall, killing the one guy. And then, like you said, this guy's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he just knocks him. And
Oh hey, boss, how's it going? Nah. Just tossed to the side. I was expecting to do that too. I was like watching, just like throw the guy to the side, and he did. I was like, "Oh, that's funny."
yeah. So yeah, it was pretty funny way to start it out. Um, and then so Arkenfell catches up with them. He uses a gravity attack to try and basically create a smoke screen and blows a hole through the floors to try and get to the lower areas where he's trying to um, get closer to the Guyver remover. Um, so kind of this opening sequence, what was going through your mind?
Uh, well, I guess it's just, I don't know. It's just funny to see like Gil like this afraid and like just running away as best he could. Like this is like the time where like we see him like truly panicked. Like the only time I really remember him being this panicked was like I think when Guyver 3 just came out of nowhere to ambush him.
Yeah.
This is like the first time we've actually seen him like terrified beyond belief. He's like, I don't know. He's like trying to look through his manual. He's like, come on, give me something, please. I'm trying to get away from this guy. Help me.
Yeah.
And he throws Archipels is like, no, ridiculous, garbage. Like he still has like one hand behind his back the entire time, so he's just like using one hand to just block
Pretty
everything.
much.
Yeah.
It's like Goku showing up when he came back to Earth and Trunks went to test him, and he's just deflecting Trunks' sword with one finger.
Yeah, or it's like that scene where he shows up to fight Frieza when they're on Namek, and Frieza just starts shooting those lasers, and Goku just starts blocking all of them with like one hand. Even Frieza's just like, what?
Yeah. So while all this is going on, we cut to the 3 remaining hyperzonoids monitoring everything. They haven't heard from Barkus yet, or Bacchus. Yeah, Barkus. And so they start debating on what they should do. And takes a quick cut to Barkus going onto the elevator to start going down, kind of talking about being a goofball, kind of being stupid for confronting Arkenfell and everything.
Yeah.
So what kind of what were you thinking during this segment?
Yeah. Well, we already kind of knew that Barkus wasn't like kin to Gio. He didn't really like him. He was just kind of working with him because I think it was just the Guyvers were like seen as like a threat. So Barker's just like, fine, I'll join you, but whatever, I don't like you.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, none of us Zoolords like you. We all hate you. I'm just the one that has to deal with you the most. So when he's just talking about like, you idiot, like, of course, like, did you not think that one of the Zoolords would like come after you with how you were acting? Of course, one of them was going to come after you and like put you in your place. So it was kind of funny, just like him like reveling and like Gio being like put on the back end by Arkenfell.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. It's like if he's so annoying to the rest of them, why do they keep him around to begin with?
Exactly. It's just like, why haven't you just killed him then yet? Like, you hate him, just get rid of him.
Yeah.
If you know he's gonna come back in the future and probably like be a big problem for you, then just like that, just kill him.
So, and if I remember correctly, I think before they break away, I can't remember if they actually mentioned something about Aptom or not. But 2 of them decide to go off to try and find Barkus. And you get this scene just as they're kind of walking away, which is obviously one of Aptom's additional bodies that he created.
Yeah.
So that's pretty funny. Now this is going to be the next shot is going to be one of the kind of blown out ones, but so the 2 are walking down one of these hallways, and there's some rubble over to the side, and Aptom just bursts out to try and like attack them, and they blow him away.
Yeah, they just like immediately destroy him.
So, like I said, you can't really see it very well, but this was the explosion hitting him. So, and then shortly thereafter, we get this scene, which is, let's see, Gastor, I think is how they pronounce the name.
Okay.
So, Gastor shows up, and I think, yeah. So, like after the first Aptom attacks them, they start going, "Why did we even walk away? Like this is so stupid." We better
Yeah,
get
they
back.
mentioned that like, well, if there was a problem, Barkus would have probably already like talked to us telepathically. So why the hell are we even like moving away from that? I think it was worse leaving our one comrade behind
Yeah,
for like because if we leave, Atom could clearly take that guy on and just absorb him, and then we'd be screwed after that. So they're like, let's turn around, and then that's when they get ambushed by Atom. They're like, ah, damn it.
yeah. So then, so after they kind of make that point and finish off the other one, uh, this one shows up, Gaster, and uh, he falls over, and so the rhino is Durzer, I think is how they pronounce it,
Oh, okay.
and so he goes over to help pick him up because he thinks that he's just injured, and then Aptom as Gastor grabs onto his arm and then just starts melding into it.
Yeah, trying to absorb him.
Yeah, and so he does end up absorbing them and combining the two powers together to make this form, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's like a hybrid, like a pure hybrid zoonoid right there.
Yeah. So, uh, like, you know, what was going through your mind at this point?
Well, like we already kind of knew that like Aptom could clearly like just combine the powers of two different zoonoids. He'd like take on one form of a zoonoid, another form, and just kind of combine them.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I like seeing like the different like hybridizations he goes through with the zoonoids. But honestly, I just don't like his power. I think his power is just disgusting and creepy. Like I don't. And plus, like for some reason, they like made the like sound effects for that thing like so like weird. I was like, why is this so like emphasized when he does it? I'm like, stop it.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to slap the guy whoever did the sound editing for this. I wanted to go like, stop.
So yeah, he's definitely even the other Zonoids and everybody else is creeped out by Aptom.
Yeah, they're like, what the hell is this
So,
guy?
so obviously he decides to start fighting the last Hyperzonoid, which is Zextal, I think is how it's pronounced.
Yeah, the megalon looking guy.
Giant beetle.
Beetle. Yeah,
Uh,
megalon junior, as I like to call him.
yep. So they duke it out for a bit, um, kind of keeping Zectal on edge. So he finally activates his hyper mode, um, which draws all the heat in from the surrounding area, allowing him to shoot this like huge blast kind
Yeah,
of thing. Very similar to like the Mega Smasher that the Guyvers have. So after and at first, Aptom's commenting like, "What are you doing? I can withstand the cold.
yeah.
You're not going to freeze me to death."
Until I realizes later, he's like, oh wait, no, he's not trying to freeze stuff. He's trying to bring in the heat. He's like, oh, oh,
Yeah.
I miscalculated a bit.
Um, so after he charges it up, blasts it right in Aptom's face, damages Aptom and the base, obviously. And then we cut over to the resistance group, still monitoring what's going on with Sho and Guido and the ship. Um, so Sho says, "Hey, like, there's magma below the ship. I can get it to absorb it for energy. It's going to take about an hour to power up." Um, and due to Aptom and what's his name, Zextal fighting, the ship starts taking damage, or not the ship, the base. Um, and so Sho encourages everybody to come down to the ship to survive. which was finally like one of the first smart things he's done.
Yeah.
Um, so nothing too exciting about that, but you know, it was just kind of back and forth. Uh, um, so then we cut back to the results of Aptom and Zextel fight, and we see a third Aptom show up, and he latches on to Zextel's leg, which Zextel just blasted away because he like shoots his own leg off,
Yeah.
and then the two different Aptoms form together, and we get this newer version of Aptom as Zextel. Uh,
Yeah. Which is pretty crazy that, like, to me, literally, it feels like the writer who, when he's like coming up with the powers at that time, he's like, oh, now he can do this too. Now, like, it just kind of seems like it's just 20 different powers out of thin air, just going like, oh, he can do this now, and now that he's achieved a new form, I'm like, okay.
yeah, and he at one point they're questioning him about it, like you know, asking him if he's got clones or whatever, and he's like, no, they're literally me, like it's an extension of myself.
Yeah.
Uh, so kind of like an Agent Smith in Matrix 2 and 3.
Yeah, almost kind of like, yeah, almost akin to that.
So after he finishes fusing and transforming into his own version of Sextel, he senses Arkenfell. I think that's who he senses. Um, they don't really make it quite clear, but he mentions something like that. And then let's see here. Yeah. So we cut over to Guyot hanging out in the center area of the base, way above the spaceship. Arkenfell is finally caught up to him, and and goes for broke and
Which creates a huge freaking.
creates a black hole to attack
Yeah,
Arkenfell.
literally, he's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna throw everything, including the kitchen sink. Here, have this black hole. Let's see if we can understand that. And Arkenfell, when the episode like comes to an end, Arkenfell, you kind of see Arkenfell's like face start to change a bit. He's like, "Wait, hold on, hold up. I don't like this. Hang on, something seems different."
Yeah.
And you
So
kind of see like his, I don't know if it's the next episode or this one, but like you kind of see like his other hand that he's been holding behind his back his entire time kind of move a bit, like start to like go towards the front of his body. So you're like, oh, is he gonna have to use two hands now? Like, is he actually gonna have to put like, is he actually gonna have to use pressure?
yeah. So yeah, it's in the next episode because this one pretty much just shows this and then it goes to
Yeah.
the credits.
And Arkenfeld just kind of goes, what? And then it just ends.
But you can see kind of in the back here. Uh, this is the elevator that Barkus was on,
Yeah.
and he sees what Gyud is doing, and he's pretty much calls him a more like
He's
an
like,
idiot.
you idiot. Why would you put that here in the base?
Yeah. So, and the way that he did it, so when you see Gyud's full form, he's got like all these orbs on him,
Yeah.
and pretty much all the orbs came out to create the black hole. So, which is a pretty interesting way of creating an attack.
Yeah.
Um,
Take all the orbs out of my body and use them as a weapon.
yeah. It also makes me wonder if they regenerate over time or if it's like a one and done kind of thing.
Yeah, it could be possible.
So, because they don't come back when. Well, we'll get to that later.
Well, it's probably just a one and done thing then, because it probably just creates like a weapon so powerful that they can only be used once, like when it's like absolutely necessary, maybe.
Though there is a possibility that they could come back if he's put into the regeneration chamber kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that too.
So
It could just be that he didn't really have a chance to go back to the regenerative chamber, so he's just like they're just gone
yeah.
for now until.
Uh, so that's basically the end of episode 21. Um, any kind of final thoughts on how 21 played out?
Not really. That was a good episode. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed seeing Archifel again.
yeah.
I
His
just feel like much of a power difference he has to the rest of the characters we've met.
and it's just you see these guys and they're supposedly supposed to be all these powerful people and everything, and they're all afraid of them.
Yeah, which just makes it even more terrifying. You're like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
Like the villains we've been following this entire time, who have like practically outclassed the Guyvers, are afraid of this one character.
yeah. All right, so uh, basically at the beginning of episode 22, um, we see all the rest of the resistance people, running to the ship. Not too much going on there. Just the you're starting to see the effects of the gravity attack affecting the rest of the base.
Yeah,
So you're getting a little bit of debris falling on them and stuff. The cracks forming and everything.
yeah.
And it cuts.
You start seeing them start to float too. I think at some point.
Yeah, that comes up in a little bit. So it cuts from there to the outside, and you see a couple of just goons, Cronus goons, standing out in front of a door talking about, man, I hope the next shift gets here soon before this thunderstorm hits. And lo and behold, a giant lightning bolt strikes, and it happens to be the remaining Zoa Lords.
Yeah, that was that came out of nowhere for me. I was like, oh, they're here. Okay. I was like, wow, you guys picked a fine howdy do.
One heck of a time to get there.
Yeah, there was just like, oh, we're here now.
So
like, we sensed that Arkenfell seemed to be having some trouble, or Arkenfell was here or something.
No, they don't even know about Arkenfell yet.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I remember. Yeah, one of the mentions later, like, because I think what is it, Guillot's power that they're sensing? Isn't that what that is?
Yeah. So when they get there, yeah, they notice Guillot's power because it's actually pulling in the clouds above the mountain.
Yeah, it's like the black hole that they created that they sense, and then they get there and they're like, why would he even need to exert this much power in the first place? And then that's when they start realizing, like, wait a second, it isn't Arkenfell, is it? He's not here right now, is he? And
Yeah.
it just cuts back to Arkenfell.
Yeah, so it cuts back to this whole confrontation.
Yeah.
And Barkus is floating around in his own protective bubble behind Gute, somehow not affected by the black hole.
I was like, how are you not like getting like at least like struggling to keep that force field like contained?
Yeah, because the black hole is pulling from every direction, or so I thought, but apparently it's not pulling from behind it.
So. Yeah, on the front. Which is the exact opposite of how a black hole works, but whatever.
Yeah, I know. But that's crazy anime for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like a damn anime. I don't care. It's not science.
So Barkus floats up and basically, lectures Gute about using his gravity attack. And Gute goes, "Hey, if I'm going to die, I'm going to take this bastard with me." And and it's just so funny because it's like this guy is supposed to be your leader, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm going to take him out with me."
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, how do you think that's going to go? Exactly.
So after they have their little back and forth, and we continue seeing Arkenfell struggling to resist it, cuts back to the group still running through the tunnel, and like you mentioned, gravity starts catching up to them or disappearing on them.
Yeah.
So they start floating and everything with them. which freaks them all out. So let's see here. What do I got next? And then it cuts back, and so this whole time that Arkenfeld's been resisting it, he's had this, barrier bubble around him, and it, like you mentioned before, he finally has to bring out his second arm to try and maintain the strength to resist it.
Yeah.
And his bubble starts warping, and then finally pops.
And then he gets sucked into it.
Yeah, and this was the best screenshot I could get of that.
No, it's fine. You can kind of see him there, but
Yeah.
So it's fine.
So he's
kind of surprised.
swirling the drain, so to speak.
But even I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, he actually got outdone by Guyver. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't expect that to happen. I thought like once he started pulling out both hands, he would manage to at least like be more capable of handling himself against it, but he didn't. He just got sucked in. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and at some point around this time, somebody comments about how Gyud's like gravity attacks is one of the strongest. So like he's literally supposed to be the strongest out of the Zoolords.
I think it might have been one of the Zoolords that mentioned that, or it was Barkus that mentioned that.
I'm pretty sure it was the other Zoolords when they were talking, but
yeah, I would say that. I think yeah, you know what? You might be right. I feel like it's one of the other Zoolords that mentioned it.
Yeah. So, it's pretty crazy that they give the most power to the last guy who hates like all of them.
Yeah, it's just like, why would you give him like the strongest attack if you guys, first of all, if you hate all of him, he hates all of you. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You do realize that when he gets fed up with you guys, which he already has, he will probably use it on one of you, which is what he's doing at this current moment.
Yeah. So,
like what? Bad programming.
Some of their decisions just don't make any sense.
Yeah. A lot of plot holes to that.
So Gyut then asks Barkus, or basically demands Barkus help him to shut down the black hole because it's gotten too big and out of his own control. And Barkus is kind of hesitant about it. Then he's like, yeah, I don't really want to die right now, so I guess so. And takes him 2 tries to get it.
Yeah, because Gil kind of like mentions he just just goes, okay, fine. Listen, I'll die, but you're gonna die too. So unless you're like okay with yourself dying, put your hands up and help me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, yeah, it takes him like 2 tries, and on the second try, Gil, I think, even puts more power into it or something. He like yells something. I forgot. He's like, "Close, damn you," or something, and like.
Yeah, he just keeps yelling at it.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah. So, well, the first time they both shot their energy blast, and they only did it for a short time. And this time, the second time, they did it for longer.
Yeah, which it could explain why it finally closed down, because they probably
because originally it was like both of their beams were separate, and then they started to spiral and fused into one big one.
Yeah.
So, so after they managed to successfully close the black hole, Barkus or Gyut starts celebrating and laughing his head off at successfully getting rid of Arkenfeld, and then passes out and falls.
Yeah, that was funny to me. He was like, "Yes, I did." He just falls, and Barkus just watches him. He's like, "Well, there he goes."
Yeah. So of course, gravity returns to normal. Our resistance group finally arrives at the ship, and just as they get there, lo and behold, Gyut crashes into the ground next to him and then stands up and is like, "Oh, you people."
That scared me that he was actually still like awake. I thought he would like fall to the ground, but he would still be passed out. So the fact that when he got up, I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh no, he's awake." I thought he was still going to be passed out.
Yeah, that was a bit surprising for him to just jump back up that quickly.
Yeah, it was weird. I was like, okay, whatever.
So at this point, both Guyvers are still on the ship. So it's just Murakami and the humans outside, and of course, you know, Gyut's threatening them and everything, and Murakami starts to step up to, be like, okay, I'll fight him. I'll hold him off while you guys get away, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and then just as he's about to transform, Guyver 3 steps out and kind of like starts talking smack and everything. Um, which then makes Gyut start laughing, and he calls the remover, and it just picks up and flies off to him.
Yeah. Well, I feel like then they kind of established that he could probably talk to it like on command because of what he was talking with the other doctor.
Well, yeah, he had connected to it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put it on. So I just didn't I forgot about that. So like when he summoned it, I was just like, because the whole time I thought he was actually trying to run to it.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, I remember them mentioning that, but I think at that point, like when him and Arkenfeld went through that pillar or whatever, when they were in that space right next to Vargas's like elevator or whatever, at that point he was just like, oh, forget it. So he had to set an attack, and
Yeah.
he probably, yeah, but at the same time, yeah, you're right. Like he could command it the entire time, and yet he was trying to go to it this whole time too. Like, why didn't you just call it then from when you were originally?
Well, not that it would help him any with fighting.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Like I feel like it would just be useless with Arkenfeld.
Yeah. Uh, so, so he gets the remover. Of course, Agito not knowing what it is, or anybody knowing what it is, except for Sho, because
Yeah.
he saw it in the flashback. Guyver 3 jumps at him. He gets blasted by an energy blast from the remover, which causes his armor to almost completely disengage. So, what did you think when you saw that happen?
Oh, I totally thought he was just going to lose the suit entirely, but then like the suit manages to just like go back onto him like right afterwards. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so he basically Gyut comments, "Oh, must not have charged it enough," which is pretty interesting because you would think that it wouldn't require like
it would just work like on its own. There wouldn't be any like charging needed.
Yeah. So, um, so Gyuto's a little weakened and shocked from this and freaked out. So Murakami steps up and finally transforms, which took a couple tries to do because when he first started to try and transform, Gyut used his own control crystal to prevent Murakami from transforming.
Yeah.
And somebody did something to distract, or no,
it was guys.
Yeah, while he was still in his human form and trying to struggle against Gyut, Gyut used the some gravity balls that he had in his knuckles to do gravity bullets with. And just before he shoots Murakami, Dr. What was it? I did write his name down. Dr. Odagiri jumps in front of him.
Yeah, and takes them all.
Yeah, takes all the shots. So that pisses off Murakami enough where he's able to bypass Gyut's control and transforms.
Yeah, he basically goes Super Saiyan at that point.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, and just transforms.
So they start fighting, and then Sho's like, "Hey, ship's charged up. Let's go." And that's pretty much the end of episode 22.
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts on episode 22 before we move on?
Well, I think when Murakami, transformed, there was still that huge part of me. I'm just like, oh, cool, he transformed and he's mad. But then, like, that was the other half of me. I was like, and he's probably gonna get his ass kicked. But that's
Yeah.
fine. Because I'm like, he's not going to be strong enough to take on Gio. We've seen him try to take on Gio in this form before, and it did not go well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's not going to go well this time. And of course, it doesn't.
Yeah. So
I mean, he holds his own like pretty well at some points. I'm like, oh, okay, he's doing better than I thought he would. And then at some point, Gio gets the best of him. I'm just like, and we're back to reality.
yeah. So they start going back and forth, and I think Murakami knocks Gyut back a bit, and then he tries to charge up an attack, but Gyut like keeps him on his toes. So then I think it was Murakami, Gyuto did something that distracted him, which when he finally comes back to looking at Murakami, he's got his hand kind of Ultraman laser beam
Yeah,
charged up.
Yeah, throws it, and then you get that image of where it just slices right through. Not
Yeah.
right through. Like, he slices like his shoulder. Gil's like shoulder blade, and he's like, I don't.
And these little black spots are some of the where the gravity orbs were that he used.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but yeah, he slices them, which causes Gio to fall.
Yeah, actually does a pretty good amount of damage to him.
Yeah.
He's like, like he like literally goes out in pain, and he just kind of like falls.
And so at this point, Show's made a pocket for the rest of the people to go into, so that way they don't get attacked by the ship, and can breathe and everything like that. And they start. Dr. Odagiri finally dies, and then Show launches the ship, which starts. Let me get to that. So, which was pretty interesting because it creates this like energy barrier that just starts disintegrating everything above it.
Mm-hmm.
It's moving up, and Aptom happens to like kind of float in, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" and gets slammed against the wall.
Yeah, he's like, "Huh, this looks weird." Nah.
So, so ships rising, all this destruction going on and everything. And then we cut to the surface, and Barkus is meeting up with the rest of the Zoolords. And yeah, let's see. Trying to make sure I got this. Yeah, so he shows up. They talk. The ship it continues rising, and Murakami's on top of the ship for some goofy reason.
Yeah, which is
everybody else is inside. Murakami's on top. Shows telling him, "Hey, come on, get in here before it's too late and stuff." And just as he's about ready to go in, Gyut manages to pop up and grab him from behind.
Yeah, I grabbed my leg.
Yeah, I was like, really? What the heck? Thought for sure he was going to be disintegrated by the ship or something, before that. So, of course, Sho tries to use the ship at first to try and separate them, but Murakami, says, don't. You can't bring him inside, especially when he still has the remover with him. So Sho retracts the ship's tendrils, which causes Gyut to start torturing Murakami even more.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually rips his arm off.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. I was like, oh, wow, all right, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the yells that Murakami's voice actor does are really well done, because I literally felt like I literally felt pain.
Yeah.
That entire scene, I was like, yeah, no, he's in pain right now. Help him.
Yeah.
Do something.
Yeah, it was yeah, they did a really good job with that for sure. Um, so the ship finally surfaces in front of all the Zolords and everything. Show confronts Gute on top of the ship, uh, and Guyver 3 pops out to help.
Yeah, help out with the Geo at least.
Yeah. So he pops up and he does a quick blast. But Gute, before all this, after the ship, or no, yeah, after the blast, Barkus tells the other Zolords that they need to destroy the ship, and they're like, "Well, why?" And he's like, "Well, that blast was the Guyver's Mega Smasher, and we don't want them getting any other access to any of the other technology that's in the ship." So they agree to do that, and then Gute finally relinquishes Murakami, but not before destroying his crystal.
Yeah, he was like, I think blasts him. I think with the finger or the.
No, he used his own crystal to vibrate it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he does do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you just see the crystal crack, and then we just have the scene where Murakami is giving his last words to Sho, and then he eventually just dies. And Sho was pissed.
Yeah. So all this that just went on, what was kind of going through your head at that point?
Well, it was kind of sad to see Murakami go. And again, I felt like the voice actor did pretty well conveying that he was dying, so he's just giving his last words to Sho. So I kind of like that in his last dying moments, he was just kind of giving some hope or some a little bit of a pep talk to Sho, but you need to protect everyone after this. You need to be their pillar.
Yeah. So Sho goes on the aggressive, starts charging up one of his Mega Smashers to hit.
Finally, he goes on the aggressive side. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, enough freaking being pushed around. Kill one of them, dude. I'm like, fight back.
So, and then just as they're both about to blast each other, explosions start rocking the ship.
Yeah, as when the other Zolords are showing up and they start shooting at the ship.
Yeah, and then somebody hits Guyver 3 in the left arm and blows it off.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was just some random shot that just goes off.
Yeah, so he's distracted. So all three of them are distracted, and then there's a big energy sphere that pops up.
Originally Gio was all three were going what do we do now? Especially Sho and Akito, but with Gio he's well, the Guyvers are here, plus the other Zolords are here too. I'm outmatched. I'm gonna head out. So he starts going to run. Starts to run, but then as he does, that's when the beam of light shows up, and then Arkenfell in his Zolord form appears. And Gio's is oh no. I made a mistake.
Yeah. And within seconds, just reaches over to Gute and pulls out his crystal.
Yep, and I think it kills him.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he just kills him straight then and there. I'm like, oh wow, all right.
And he's about to reach down to grab the remover, and Guyver 3 blasts Gute with his gravity ball and causes Gute to fall to below the ship.
Yeah.
And so then both Guyvers charge up, and Arkenfeld's just kind of floating there, like, whatever. And so they both charge up their Mega Smashers, launch it at Arkenfeld, and he just knocks it straight back at him and through the ship.
Yeah, and that just, I think, blows up the ship entirely when he does it.
Yeah, so it
destroys everything.
Yeah, so it starts a chain reaction in the ship that causes it to start exploding. We see the two Guyvers kind of caught in a bright light. We see like Show disintegrating, and I think it briefly cuts to the people in the ship. Maybe not. And then the last thing that we see before the end of the episode is this.
Yeah.
And so at this point, what was like going through your mind?
Well, at that point, like, I was just like, oh, wow. Freaking Arkenfeld just like pushed their Mega Smasher beams, which, mind you, they did it both together. So that had to be like a super massive beam. And he just goes, meh. And just pushes it back and just blows up the ship with it too. I'm like, damn, that was a pretty intense attack. And I did just see them like get disintegrated like that. I was like, at some point, I was a combination of me going, oh wow, that's intense, to me going, I'm sure it'll be fine. Or find a way to get back from it, like they do with like every other attack in this show.
What did you think when you saw this thing?
I honestly had no idea what that was at first. I was like, what even is that? Like, it kind of, the way it kind of like pulsed, or the way it was like looking when they framed it, it was like a heartbeat or something. I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
So I was just confused. But also, like, a part of me was thinking that had to be connected to the Guyver somehow. So seeing that image made me think that, well, made me realize that I was kind of right, that they are going to find a way to come back, because seeing that gave me the impression that something with the Guyver, something with the ship was going to save probably Agito and Show from getting fully destroyed by the beam.
Yeah. And one thing I forgot to mention, Relic Point starts to erupt.
Oh yeah, I tried the volcano.
Yeah, so not only is the ship blow up, but Relic Point is erupting, which confirms that Gute's just completely gone.
Yeah. He has to be.
Yeah. So then, like, right before we see this device pop up, I forgot, it cuts to Arkenfeld holding Gute's crystal while looking at Murakami's body. And then it cuts to this, and then it cuts to the credits. So then at the start of episode 24, basically it starts showing different parts of the world, and zoonoids start popping up. Even like the president's assistant or whatever turns into a zoonoid. And
we got a zoonoid rock band at some point too.
Well, that's a year later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like this scene right here is basically right after they take over the world.
Yeah.
Within like 24 hours, they just launch the all-out attack, and it takes over everything.
But that was like a pretty big whiplash.
Yeah.
Just seeing that, going, oh, okay, I guess they took over the world. All right. I guess that's how it starts.
So then it fast forward to a year later, and it's showing like life, as it is at that time, and there's advertisements for getting enhanced by Kronos. And
why is there a Zoonoid band that I don't understand?
Zoonoid band, yeah.
What the? Seeing them, I was just, what? Why?
And the audience was like all human.
Yeah, they were like cheering for them too, like, yeah, woo! Like, what?
I mean, there are some bands that all they do is grunt, so it's not too far off the pace. But I
True.
mean, it's animal growls and stuff like that. It was so weird. So
Yeah, but it's weird too because Zonoids can talk. So I just want to hear what the hell is
yeah.
singing. It sounds like.
Um, so after this, we cut to this girl back here who happens to be like a best friend of Mizuki
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've seen her. I think at
towards the beginning.
school that they attend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's seen coming out of like a grocery store, getting on a bike, carrying a lot of groceries and riding it and stuff,
Hmm.
and gets to a point where she starts going uphill and struggles a little bit. So she starts trying to walk the bike, and some guy walks up behind her offering to help, and he's bragging about having power and everything like that. So she confronts him, and it's like, "Oh, I bet you're a Gregel," and and like, uh, turns him down and everything.
Yeah, which is interesting to hear that now that Zoonoid transformations are like being offered to just people at this
Yeah,
table.
but at the same time, like, I'm sure Kronos hasn't told them, like, "Hey, by the way, there's a group of 12 people, like 11 people, that can mind control you if you transform, or even if you don't."
Yeah, that too. I feel like they would hide that from the public.
Yeah. So, um, so she brushes the guy off, walks to this apartment complex, looks around, doesn't see anybody, double checks, knocks on the door, gets greeted in, and we find out that the group has been surviving in this tiny apartment for pretty much the whole year. And this girl's been getting groceries for them each week to help them out so that way they don't expose themselves. Uh, so, which is pretty crazy.
Hmm.
Um, what I found interesting too was it shows a close up of Tetsuo, and he's got like little stubble hairs.
Yeah, that was funny. That was a cute little detail.
like, like, uh,
It was a good way to show the passing of time and give them the impression that they are older or a little older now.
yeah. But to me, it was just what was so funny about it is because he was supposed to be like a senior, when
Hmm.
the show started, and so he should be like college age now, and it's like he's got like shaggy.
That's to show that he's an adult now. It's time to
um,
show that he doesn't shave as much.
yeah. So, uh, so the whole time, so that, not much else going on. Cuts outside when the girlfriend leaves to show Aptom nearby, like watching over. Uh, which is like okay.
Him and his Mr. Smith glasses.
Yeah. So at this point, it's like okay, so he's you kind of assume he's not working for Kronos because if he knows where they're at and they're talking about how they've been in hiding for so long and haven't been found yet, obviously he's not reporting them.
Hmm.
So
Well, we kind of already figured that he wasn't really part of Kronos before the.
anymore, yeah.
Yeah.
But still, it's just kind of odd, to see him like just watching over him, kind of thing.
Yeah, of course.
So then it cuts to Kronos Japan, which has been rebuilt, and you get Zoolord, one of the one of the remaining Zoolords, coming to the base. He talks to another Zoolord, and they're like, "Okay, well, we need to go talk to Barkus." So they go down, find Barkus in his lab, and he's working on something. And they talk about uh, projects and whose project is more important than the others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then it cuts back to the apartment, and um, Tetsuo is still going away on the computer. Um, I know that they mentioned the old guy's name, but I keep forgetting it, so I'm just calling him Gramps.
No, yeah, I forgot his name too.
So Gramps is at the kitchen sink, like washing dishes or something, and keeps making a clicking sound, which causes Tetsuo to snap at him. And then Mitsugi yells at Tetsuo and then yells at Gramps to stand up for himself.
Constant yelling match, apparently.
Yeah. And then Shizo finishes sewing up her blanket and makes a comment about a Guido and then freaks out.
Yeah, like she just has a mental breakdown.
Yeah, like, and when we saw her earlier, she was just zoned in on sewing the blanket together.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, when she has this freak out, it's like, okay, it's been a year and she's been in this like zombie state this whole time, apparently.
Yeah. Well, honestly, this is like the most emotional we've seen her like ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Like every scene we've seen her in, she's always managed to like keep her composure. So seeing this was like very off-putting.
Yeah,
because to see her just have this like crisis, you're like, oh wow, this is like really getting to them, isn't it?
yeah.
For a whole year of not seeing Sho or Akito like alive since Arkansas's like attack, you're starting to think like, oh no, yeah, they're starting to lose it. Like Hope is out the building. Hope is like it's packed up its bags and it's starting to head out the door.
So the whole group has a big argument about whether or not Sho and Agito are still alive. Um, Mitsuki has her own little bit of a freak out and runs out the door. And as she just blindly runs away, she eventually realizes that she's pretty close to her house. Starts to kind of approach it, but it's raining outside, and two police officers show up and confront her.
Which is so weird to me. I'm like, why do you care that she's out there in the rain?
Yeah. And her, well, she doesn't have an umbrella. That's very suspicious.
Like, what? She forgot her umbrella. It's that easy. What do you mean?
So her friend shows up from behind the police and, basically says that Mitsuki's her sister and had a recent breakup with her boyfriend and, comes up with this whole line and puts Mitsuki underneath an umbrella and starts walking her away. And then one of the police officers is like, hey, that girl looked familiar.
Yeah, and then he goes like, wait a second, isn't she the sister to like that kid? Like, aren't they like both felons or something or wanted?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you're right. And as soon as he says that, he like starts making like choking noises, is going like, and that's when it cuts to freaking Aton just grabbing both of them and just absorbing them.
Yeah. So, yeah, Aptom comes in to save the day because one guy was going to chase after her while the other guy was going to report it in.
Yeah, so he showed up like right in the nick of time.
So after this, it cuts to Mitsuki and her friend in the park, and the friend's telling her, "Hey, like I've seen your parents. I've talked with them. They're still holding out hope that you guys are okay. I haven't told them anything, but they're keeping their hope alive." So,
Yeah,
that's pretty much it for 24. So, not really a whole lot.
No, just like a little bit. Like it kind of like explores like, well, I would say it's mostly at the beginning. It kind of goes over the whole take over the world scenario. But then we kind of abandon them and just kind of see what the character's been up to and what they've been dealing with, like a year after that accident with Sho and Agito.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a nice ending to see like them still kind of retain hope, like in a very like a little bit.
Yep.
Because they, what is it? I think Mitsuki puts up that little like charm thing.
Yeah. Yeah. She gets
Yeah,
back, puts up the charms that her friend got from
her
Mitsuki and
parents.
Tetsuo's mother.
Yeah. And she looks at it and she gets reminiscent of Sho, and then that's when the episode ends.
Yeah. So then we cut to episode 25, and I'm sorry that this is washed out, but it was another
Yeah, I
bright
can't.
one.
I don't even. I didn't even know what to make out of this.
So the episode starts out, shows basically Kronos Japan. They're looking at a monitor, seeing this chrysalis, which is trying to entice Barkus to come with the other Zoolord to the Dead Sea base, which is supposedly the biggest conversion facility that they have. So Barkus finally agrees. And we do hear Barkus kind of thinking to himself about how there's been a sudden brash of zoonoids disappearing, and assumes that it's Aptom.
Yeah, just absorbing as much as he can.
So like before he takes off, he's like, yeah, I got something special for Aptom. And then it cuts to Toronto, and you see some human soldiers like in a base kind of thing. And, obviously they attacked it and stuff. One guy pops up, transforms into this new hyperzoonoid.
Yeah, cool design too, by the way.
Yeah,
like,
and then
literally looking like an Ultraman kaiju.
yeah, and then before he like does anything, Guyver 3 pops up and just slices him in half.
No way, Guyver 3 still alive? Who would have guessed that? What a shock! No, I didn't see that coming.
So then we get an inner monologue from Agito after he transformed out of the Guyver suit, and or no, he's like, hey, let's keep going, kind of thing.
Yeah, he kind of just reminisces. Yeah, he mentions that, and then we get a whole flashback about what exactly happened after Arkenfil shot the laser back at them.
Yeah, we get a little bit. It goes into a little bit more later on.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. So let's see. Where's my notes? So then we cut back to Aptom watching over the group's hideout. And so Shizu is still kind of freaking out. Not like as much as she first did, but still kind of shaking and everything. So Mitsuki puts her hands on Shizu's and tells her, hey, like, when all this stuff first started happening, your touch comforted me, so hopefully mine will comfort you. So reassures her, and we see Tetsuo just still going away at the computer, typing away. So what was kind of running through your mind at this point?
Well, to see this, I guess it was a little more uplifting to see them kind of not in like such disarray as they were in the last episode. So there was that bit of continuity where they had that hopeful kind of ending, and now their attitude is kind of gotten a little bit better. They're not as like bitter towards each other anymore. So it was nice seeing that like progression, I would say, from episode to this episode.
So yeah, I would agree. So then we cut to Guido in some kind of an office, and he's sitting behind a desk, and some guy walks in and says, "Hey, we found the pod, the chrysalis."
Yeah, in the what they call it? Where did they find it in again?
Well, so they break down like all the places that it's been. So it first appeared in the Colorado Rockies,
Mhm.
and then they said it was moved to like Arizona for a little bit, and then it was transferred to the Dead Sea base.
Yeah,
And this causes Agito to have a flashback to show like the moments, when we last saw them being vaporized by Arkenfel's back attack, and then he sees Show disintegrating and his control metal being left, and then sees the two main control metals from the ship fused together, and basically creates kind of like the precursor to the pod, the chrysalis. And did it? I think that at that point, it we hear what Show was saying too, which as he was being disintegrated, he was asking the ship to save everybody.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was mentioning that as you saw like the rest of his suit disappear, and all that was left was the control metal.
Yeah. Um, so then after the white flash, uh, cuts to Agito waking up, still in his Guyver form, and he sees this big like webbing above him. He gets up, and we see that his left arm is finally reformed, but
Yeah,
not completely healed.
yeah, but it's getting there.
And um, it was hard to get any screenshots for this area because it was
No, of
like,
course, get this in a day.
um, so he comes out of this like shell, and then kind of breaks it away a little bit more and finds the chrysalis right next to him, and realizes that Show's control metal is still inside of it, and uh, confused about what's really going on and stuff. But before he could really do anything, three helicopters show up. So he runs off to hide. Turns out Kronos found it, and he admits he's in no condition to, fight him or anything like that. So they pick up the chrysalis and fly away. And that's when we find out that uh, basically all this happened 6 months ago.
Mm.
So for 6 months, him and Show were in that bubble,
Yeah,
cocoon.
that sort of like chrysalis looking object.
Yeah. So then after that, it cuts to Barkus uh, being at the base, Dead Sea base, and being escorted to the chrysalis itself. And one of the scientists is like, "Hey, we've done every kind of scan we could do, but it's emitting EMPs, and the surface is too hard for us to like really do anything with to do any skating." So the other Zolord's like, "Well, Barkus is our greatest psychic, so he can read it." And he scans and he can't even penetrate in, um, which kind of freaks him out.
Yeah, I love that too. Like as soon as he says like, "Well, Barkus is our most skilled telepath. He'll be able to read it. If it's
Yeah,
not, nobody can read it." And a few seconds later, Barkus just turns back and just says, "I can't read it."
yeah. Um, so yeah, so they're they decide, well, we'll do some more experiments in the morning, and they walk away. Um, then it cuts to nighttime. We see Aptom walking through the city, and he realizes somebody's following him. So he navigates his way to basically a non-populated area,
Yeah,
which is pretty nice considering everything.
yeah, which is like again kind of pointing towards that more like anti-hero kind of like thing where he doesn't really go after.
Innocent
Well, he's
people.
really like Yeah, he doesn't really like try to put innocent civilians in harm's way.
Yeah. So, uh, so when he finally rounds the corner and everything, he turns around and he's like, "Okay, you can show yourself." Turns out it's Zectel, and he pretty much immediately transforms.
Yeah, and he's got a new buffed up look too. Now that he's a super zonoid, I think, or hyper
Yeah,
zonoid.
and so they start duking it out,
Yeah,
causing
which
the city to burn.
yeah, I'm about to say it was like, well, that was kind of nice of Aptom not to get into a highly populated area, and they're destroying half the city. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So,
well, forget about that then. Bunch of innocent people probably just died now. Like, listen, the amount of freaking fire that spread throughout the entire city with just a few of their bullets or their like attacks was insane.
yeah.
Just why?
So as they're fighting and destroying the city, Kronos issues a martial law order and shuts down the city, basically telling all the citizens they can't come out of their houses and everything. Gets on the news, which Mitsuki and the others happen to see, and so she thinks it's show because they can't. They don't. Nobody thinks that.
Yeah, because they say that zooloids aren't really meant to attack each other. They're under like one command. So
Yeah,
it makes sense for them to attack, unless it would be something different than not a zoonoid.
and so they run out to try and find her. Mitsuki's friend goes with her and Tetsuo, and then as they're running along, Aptom gets blown away.
Yeah, no, he gets completely destroyed by this thing. He doesn't die, but like it looks painful.
Yeah, enough of his body gets vaporized.
Yeah, it just shows that the difference in power now from what they originally were back then.
And this was after he attempted to absorb the.
Yeah, he like had his fingers like right on Zetzel. And Zetzel just laughs at him and just goes, "Yeah, that's not gonna work, buddy."
Yeah.
Just blast him.
So yeah, this was the end of episode 25. We see him.
It's also one funny thing we forgot to mention was that when our little team was following Zettel and Aptom fighting in the air, they like looked up and they went, "Is that Show?" And Mizuki was like, "Yeah, I know it is." I'm like, first of all, Show doesn't really fly. Second of all, when does Show have wings? You never saw the Guyver have wings.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, whatever.
I know.
I was annoyed by that. I was just like, what?
So delusional.
Exactly.
But yeah, so overall, a little bit more excitement than the last episode.
Yeah, not a bad episode. Yeah, and I actually did really like the scenery of the final fight in this one, where it was like dark. We had the city underneath them all lighted up.
Yeah.
Which is like pretty cool because I don't think we've like seen them fight in a city at night, really.
No, it's always been in the woods or like
so it was cool to see them. So it was a good change of scenery to see them actually fight in a city for once.
So, and then we cut to the beginning of episode 26, which shows Aptom falling to the ground, and Mitsuki in her delusions thinks that it's Sho that's falling. So she screams out his name, which somehow makes it to the other side, like all the way to the Dead Sea, and activates the chrysalis. So it bursts out of the base, and Agito happens to arrive just as it pops up into the air and realizes something's happening with it. So he transforms and jumps up towards it just as it starts teleporting away.
Yeah, and he gets teleported with it as he does.
And honestly, we see Barkus like looking up at it, and I thought he saw Guyver 3, but he was just stunned by the chrysalis, what it was doing on its own.
Yeah, he was just like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
What?
So it both of them vanish, and then we cut back to uh, the group running up to who they thought was Show. Turns out it's Aptom. He still has his like Zectal head on, and then after a moment, his head reverts back to his human head.
Yeah,
And
they're all kind
this
of taken aback
this
by
scene
it,
was,
like Actum.
and this whole scene was pretty funny because immediately he's like, "You guys need to get out of here, run away, go away, get away from me." And they're like, "Well, what's going on? Why don't you want to talk to us? Come on,
He's just
explain."
like, I don't. He's like, leave, shut up, leave. Ryan, I'm not answering your questions. Go, please. I'm doing this for your own benefit. Run, leave right now. And there's Zettel. Great.
Yeah,
And Zettel just shows him, just goes, all right, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna cause you massive pain, and then I'm gonna kill all these kids.
and this is the first time that we really get to see the difference in size between them.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, uh he tortures Aptom a little bit, and then after some back and forth, he's like, "All right, time for you to die, Aptom." And just as he's about to kill him, the
Da-da.
chrysalis appears,
Yep.
and
Everybody's like, what the hell is that? Oh, Guyver 3's here too.
yeah.
Oh,
So
wait, he's alive. Yay. And they all are
so
like,
the
yeah, he's
chrysalis smashes down in front of him, and I honestly thought Guyver 3 was like somewhere else in the city at first.
Yeah, I know. I thought so too.
And then he stands up, and we get this shot of him looking down at the group, and it's like, oh, okay, so he did ride it the whole way.
Yeah, no, I totally thought he like got sent somewhere else in the city, like still same location, but like farther away from them than the chrysalis did.
Yeah. So he threatens Zectal and's like, I'll kick your ass. So they fly off to start fighting. Mitsuki starts approaching the chrysalis, and
Says that she can feel Show's heartbeat.
yeah, and Aptom is like, "Hey, Tetsuo, come over here and help me stand up." And he targets Zectal and shoots him with like his last missile from behind.
Yeah,
try.
yeah, and distracts him long enough for Agito to open up his chest and release the attack, which does absolutely nothing.
Yeah, because Zectal uses his body's electric attack to create a barrier to slice it in half or whatever.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Yeah. And then impales him.
Yep. It was like rams right through him. And again, freaking what's her name? Shizu?
Shizu and Gramps, they're
freaking out.
Yeah, because
they're like, no, Agito.
Because Shizu sensed Agito when he arrived in the city, and so they started running to the same area. And then and then we also forgot that Kronos sent out scouts because the Zoolord that's there is like, yeah, after we made these modifications for Zectal, we made him another lost one, so we can't control him anymore. I better go send somebody out there to keep an eye on him.
Which again, terrible. Zoolord suck at trying to program their ultimate weapons. They're like, by the way, we made them so powerful that they might be able to break away from our control. Like, why would you do that?
So, but then he makes the comment, well, we kind of rushed his development, so he's not going to last long anyway, so it'll solve itself.
Hell no. Do better.
So after Zectal impales Guido, he drops him off, and of course Guido falls right in front of Shizu and Gramps. Shizu stands up to protect Agito, and just as Zectal's about to slice her, Mitsuki yells at Sho, which causes the chrysalis to start activating. And then moments later, we get our first look at the giant Guyver.
Yeah, out pops freaking Guyver Prime or something.
Yeah. And
Good guy.
so this is how he looks, uh, which is just crazy.
Yeah, freaking Mega Guyver over here.
Yeah. Um, so Zechtel flies away or flies up so that way he can blast all of them at once. And
Yeah,
everybody's like, "We need to run." Mitsuki's like, "No, let's go over by Show. He'll protect us,"
yeah,
even though he hasn't like acknowledged anybody yet.
yeah. He hasn't said anything. He's still quiet this entire time.
Yeah. So she runs over, like they all run over to him, and he creates a barrier, which surprises Zechtel because he's like, "How the hell is a guy ever creating a barrier? I didn't think that they could do that."
Yeah, he's surprised. She's like, "What? How?"
And then, so giant Guyver jumps up in the air to confront him. They start, and he just punches him once, and
He's
Zechtel's
already like, he has already like damaged from it. He's like, "Oh God, okay,
like,
God, give me a second.
yeah.
It's a lot to take in right now. Hang on."
And so he gets pissed off and flies up even higher to get in the path of the rising sun.
Yeah,
The
and
Zol Lord
yeah,
shows up and he's like, "You're not going to do this. No, you can't. You can't unleash your
he's like,
ultimate
"Wait,
attack."
no, 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 don't do it, please."
And
And because Zechtel's already like up there, and he's like, "I'm just gonna
yeah,
blast you in this whole entire in Tokyo to oblivion."
um, and during all this, one of the scouts reports about Show, and he turns and just blasts him.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool. He like just looks at him, just goes, just kills him.
Yeah. Uh, so Zechtel is determined to just take everything out with himself, because he knows he's on his deathbed anyways. And the Zolord can't do anything to stop him, so he starts charging up and launches his like ultimate attack.
Yeah, and that
And
just completely destroys him too, because you literally see his body just like explode
yeah,
as soon as he shoots the attack.
so as Zechtel's energy blast is still coming at uh, Guyver and the group and everything like that, Giant Guyver opens up its chest to reveal its Giga Smasher, I'm going to call it, and uses it to just to disintegrate the Zechtel's attack. Basically clears the clouds.
Yeah, and it just completely like evaporates Zechtel's attack with it,
Yeah,
and just shoots off into space.
and yeah, way into space.
Yeah, can't wait to see what planet gets hit by that.
And then, like, we don't see anything else from the Zolord. He's just gone. So
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if he got hit by the attack or he teleported himself away. I missed that if they showed it.
well, was he even like? Was he in the area when that happened?
Yeah, because he was yelling at Zechtel like, "You can't do
I
this."
don't think he was in midair yelling at Zechtel. I think he might have been somewhere on the ground or somewhere on top of a building.
Maybe it's hard to tell.
That's probably wasn't it. Well, it looked like he was on top of a building yelling at him. So I
That's
don't think
true.
he was like in midair. He could have just been yelling at him and just probably watched the beam in the sky go off.
But still, it's like he's just gone.
Yeah, exactly. I know, it's weird.
And then we cut to the group, and all of a sudden they notice another Zoonoid standing next to Tetsuo, and then you realize that Aptom's absorbing him
Yeah.
and shrinks his head and knocks it off.
Just takes the head off. Like, well,
So,
that's cool.
So he's like, "Hey, when show comes to, let him know I got words with him," and then he runs off. And then the giant Guyver lands, and finally the armor disengages. And we see Guyver 1 inside.
Yeah. And then
it disengages.
And out pops out Show, and basically runs up and just hugs him, and then you got a little bit of like a monologue going on between Sho saying that he wants to protect the world, he wants to protect their future, and then that just
That's
ends.
it.
That's the end of the season. Yeah,
Yep. End of the show.
that feel so rewarding, guys. Isn't that such a great ending? You're just like, what?
Yeah, we get this weird because it shows Mitsuki and Sho, like Sho's naked, Mitsuki's holding him, and there's this like nice nature scene around them.
Yeah, it's so weird. I'm just like, okay.
Like, oh, everything's perfect now.
Like, not really. Kronos is still around. The Zolords are still around. Like, no, it's not perfect.
So, uh, what were your overall thoughts of the whole series now that we're done with it?
I thought it was okay. Just okay.
Uh,
like, like I don't know. It just I think the problem was that I felt like the show kind of did a little bit too much over explaining with some things. Like there was a lot of exposition with like a lot of stuff.
yeah,
Like you don't need this much. If you do need this much, at least cut it down or something, or do something like that. Not to mention that I thought some of the characters like a little bit annoying, especially Mizuki, and like some of them seemed to like lack common sense in these like later episodes. Like they're just their brain cells decided to die out in some scenes. I'm like, oh my god, when they're like near the ship and like they just stand there and watch them fight Gio. I'm like, get in the ship. Stop staring at the freaking fight and get in the ship. Run. Why are
yeah,
you just standing there? Yeah, but I was like the fight scenes, like they were cool, but like I think they needed to be better paced because they were just kind of like sluggish and kind of slow. And I was like, oh god, like come on, pick up the pace, dude. You're in robot suits. You guys can move around. You can go faster than this. Why are you fighting so slow? I'm like, oh my god, dude. Like it was just them like kind of talking about different attacks. Which I get it. That's an anime cliche, but I'm like, not to this extent. Like they're like the shows we have today at least break it up between them talking and figuring out what to do in a fight
yeah,
with them actually fighting. So it's just like it's whatever. But yeah, no, the storyline was still pretty engaging. I was still interested to see what happened like each episode. The designs, all the Zoonoids was cool. I like the designs of the Zoolords. The Guyver suit designs, of course, is iconic. And they all look really cool. So that was neat. I like some of the characters. Like I liked the prototype Zola Lord. His name is escaping me. Makishima.
Matsuki.
What was it?
No, you're right. Matsuki or something like that.
Yeah, no, Makishima.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, he was cool. I did like him. I did like the kind of smaller moments they had in the beginning of the series with Sho and his dad. And I feel like I kind of lost a bit of that as the show kind of continued on. I didn't really have those like little moments between the characters that I kind of liked. It was just kind of this like exposition and action and exposition and action. So it just kind of like dragged on a bit for me. But you know, it was all right.
yeah,
It was an all right show. Like I feel like the ending especially did not save it. It just felt like a completely like cliffhanger ending that just made the rest of the season kind of just
yeah. I honestly think that they ended it that way because they were anticipating on having a second season, and it just never happened.
yeah. I think what should have happened is I know it would have been rushed, but they just should have like taken on all the villains at the end. Just like
But,
have the I don't know.
well, the interesting thing is in the manga, if I remember correctly, uh, Murakami is brought back and turned into the 12th Zoolord,
Oh great.
and he becomes an enemy of the group. And like I said, both Guyvers start using a giant mode to fight back. And what's funny is when Guyver 3 activates the giant mode, instead of it having that yellowish tint, it's still black like his suit.
Okay.
Um, so, but yeah, I never finished the series, so I don't know everything that happened, but I do know that, like I said, Murakami gets turned into the 12th Zolord, and um, so yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Hmm.
Um, so with all that said, that's it for the Guyver Bioboosted Armor from 2005.
Yes.
Next week we are going to uh, start talking about the anime series Go Danner.
Go down.
Looking forward to this one. You got your
Yes.
mechs, you got your kaijus, and you got plenty of fan service without any.
Yes, your fan service. Yeah. Yes.
um,
Nothing better than giant monsters, giant robots, along with some good old giant boobs and some giant butts. Nothing like that. Perfect examination of a mech anime.
yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to us talking about that series. It's been a while since I watched it, so um, with that, thanks for watching our video. Uh, please leave a like and comments below. Feel free to
Hit the
subscribe,
notification bell.
hit the notification bell, and join us next week when we start talking about Go Danner.
Yes, and catch us on Sci-Fi Nerds as well whenever you get the chance.
Yep. There should be a link to that in my description or in my channel info. So definitely check us out on there. We got lots of fun videos we've done there too. Lots of good conversations. So uh, we'll call it a night. Peace.
Farewell, Guyver.